I've blown my nose. I've brushed my moustache hairs out of the way. It must be you and a clock. Oh! So grab your sketchbooks and your ballpoint pens, because we all know you've got no real friends. It's time to fucking draw with Ewan. Ba-doop doop. Oh, what a show! What a show we've got, you big gay shits. Oh, you can't say gay as an insult because gay's not a bad thing. Ooh. I wasn't implying that gay was a bad thing. I was more going on the fact that if you happen to have some sort of insecurity about your sexuality, it may just be that you get offended by being called gay, which is funny to me, and therefore, shut up, you fucking gay piece of shit. See, and moreover, not everything's a talking point, you fat fucking idiot, so shut up. Sometimes things are just things. Imagine that. Today's episode is dedicated, a dedicated bloody episode to someone called Kate Kennedy Art on Instagram. I think that's her name. I hope I've gotten it right. I meant to check it before I started recording, but evidently I forgot to. So Kate Kennedy Art, I think that's your name, or just Kate Kennedy, or fucking whatever's, like I care. Oh, hee hee, ha ha ha. This episode's dedicated to her. But why? What is she an episode dedicated to? Because, this is fun. I owe her a commissioned drawing that she asked me to do some time ago. I think I've got at least one or two at least a couple of my episodes. Well, let's try that one again. At least a couple of episodes of my podcast have been dedicated to that fact. She asked me to draw an anteater, and then I drew a couple of anteaters, and I was like, "Oh, that'll do. You can have that soon, Kate Kennedy. When I finish this, I'll send it your way." And she was all like, "Oh, yeah, that's so cool, but take your time." And therein lies the problem. If you say take your time, I bloody will. And I think it's been about a year or so since she asked me to draw her an anteater. I just wasn't happy with what I had drawn, and depression and other excuses for not being bothered to do what I should be doing. I didn't finish it. Then, out of total curiosity, I googled anteater skeletons and liked what I saw, and therefore I thought that would be a better drawing. So I'm drawing an anteater skeleton for Kate Kennedy, who this episode is dedicated to. If you'd like an episode dedicated to you, commission me to draw you a picture and then sit patiently while I don't draw it for a year, and maybe I'll dedicate one to you. Oh, that'd be nice. Oh, nice gift from the Ewan Meister. Pew, 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 pew. Alternatively, give me some money or do something nice for me. Send me some underwear. I'll fucking dedicate an episode to you. So I'm drawing an anteater skeleton. I've done deep research, lots of painstaking sketches and drawings to try and get the correct anatomy of an anteater. Here's those sketches. That was those sketches. I'll do good enough if I. It might come out okay. What else was I gonna say? Oh, I drew in the previous episode. Who the fuck did I draw? Morty with his big bloody arm. Woohoo! Who died of AIDS in Baghdad. I wasn't happy with the Morty drawing, so I might draw a Morty with a big arm skeleton. No. So I'll probably redo that at some point. Something wasn't quite sitting well with me about that drawing. So I'll do it again at some point in the future. Possibly, maybe. I don't know. Of course, as always, this is only a vague estimation of the actual anatomy, the anatomy. Ultimately, I'm sort of making it up, but as long as it looks all right, it's a an impressionist view of the. I can guarantee the shoulder blade does not look like that of an actual anteater, but like I say, it's impressionist vision of an anteater skeleton. Also, I fucking hate drawing skeletons. Skulls are cool. Skulls are fucking awesome. Everyone likes skulls. Artists love them. They can't stop painting and drawing the bloody things. Tattoos and sculptures. Skulls all over the bloody place. Oh. Not actual skeletons. They're fucking annoying. There's so many bits, man. Did you know there's over 20 bones in an average skeleton? Wow, that's so many. 20 is a lot of anything. It's twice the amount of fingers people have. That's a lot of fingers. You don't need 20. You only need however many people actually have. So to have 20 bones is, well, I don't need to tell you that's a lot of bones. So when it comes to drawing actual skeletons, all the ribs and the bits and there's like zillions of bones just in the wrist alone. It's nonsense. Who needs that many bloody bones? So I don't draw many skeletons, and if I do, it's like I'll draw a part of the skeleton, but it looks like it's crumbling away because it's cool, stylized artwork, man. Yeah. As an excuse to not have to actually draw an actual skeleton. So these bones here I'm making up because that's kind of what a wrist looks like, isn't it? A bunch of rocks in there, little pebble bone things. Of course, the forearm made up of 2 bones. This one slightly twists. I think that's how it looked on the one Google image search of an anteater skeleton that I did. And then this one goes up here. It's got some weird elbow-like armour plating shooting up like a Gundam or something. And that's how that looks. I did have some talking points for today's episode. Sadly not Kate Kennedy related. Though hello Kate. Oh, shout out. It is dedicated to her, but it's not about her. It's not about you, Kate. It's my show. It's about me drawing pictures of shit. Yeah. I had talking points that I will get to. Can you tell? Last episode I hadn't had caffeine. And this one I have. I've taken my caffeine pills and I'm all whatever-do and ready to go. And they'll wear off in 20 minutes and you'll notice, believe you me. Talking points, it might even be something I've brought up before, but if so, shut up. Leave it alone. Don't bring it up. Keep it to yourself. Something brought up by my friend Ujis, I believe is his name. Ujis. Better known as Future Landfill Press on Instagram, I believe. Good guy, very good drawings. I do like his artwork a lot. Check him out. If I remember, I'll put a link to his thing in the thing. But apologies to you if you're watching. I don't always remember to put links and things when I say I'm going to put links in. But he brought it up, which is something I feel very strongly about, and as I say, I've probably spoke about ad nauseum before, which is the argument sort of for and against photorealistic artworks, where you see, the one he brought up was paintings of people and their faces and such with honey or something poured all over them, and then I guess the guy takes a photo of that and then paints it and you know it looks exactly like a photo. Like you wouldn't know it's a painting until someone goes, "Did you know that's a painting?" And then you go, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" And you know people love that shit because they're fucking idiots, gay idiots, obviously. Haha. Using that again for my own comedic purposes. It's just boring, frankly, that kind of artwork. Skill-wise, brilliant. You've obviously put in a lot of hard work and effort to learn how to paint like that. And, you know, it does take a lot to paint like that. It's very, very difficult, very tricky indeed. But then it's like, oh, now what? Oh, a photo of, oh, look, this is someone's face covered in bubble wrap. But it's just a painting that looks like a photo. Cool. But now what? And, you know, not to say, oh, that shouldn't be seen as a legitimate form. Obviously, it's probably far more legitimate than most other forms of artwork. But personally, I find it fucking boring. Because let's say, the main draw of that work, is the fact that it's a painting and it doesn't look like it's a painting, which is cool. But then once you get past the gimmick of the thing, that's all there is to it. Whereas personally, this is how I learned to paint and how I sort of wish to paint. The interesting paintings are the ones where you can tell that it's a painting. You can look at it and go, wow, this painting's great. You can see all the brush strokes, you can see the underpainting coming through maybe, and it almost gives you a sense of how it's painted as the painting. The painting itself shows you how it's painted. So a lot of the sort of 90s hand-painted Euro comic books I read and devoured in my learning to paint and enjoy comics and such, were painted in that way, where you could see the underpainting and spray paints and scratches and pen marks with the acrylics on top, painted in such a way that you can usually tell how the brushstrokes were made, which direction, how they were mixed with other colours and such. So the painting itself becomes almost a tutorial on look how to paint a painting. Whereas photorealism goes, look at this amazing painting, isn't this amazing? And you go, oh, it's a painting. And they go, yeah. And then you go, oh, wow. And then you move on to the next one. It's very much, well, it's not a sign of the times because people have been painting that forever and ever and ever. But it's very sort of, I don't know, it's the kind of thing Instagram loves, you know, those gimmicky sort of shits that they are, where they can just grab hold of it and go, wow, look at this. Oh, I think I'm drawing this all wrong already. Well, yeah, just like I say, it's wow, look at this, it's amazing, and then swipe and move on to the next one. Wow, look at this, isn't it amazing? Swipe and move on to the next one, because that's all it has. Whereas if a painting is genuinely intriguing, if there's a lot to it, if it's detail or if it's the concept or if it's how it's painted, then it keeps you looking longer, I feel. Because you actually want to look at it. You go, oh, this is a painting of some dwarves fighting a troll on a bridge over some running water, and it's really cool. You know, you can see brushstrokes and mess and smudges and stuff, which obviously adds character and texture to it. And it might even be, you have to say hyper-realistic as opposed to photorealistic, because you can't have a photo of dwarves fighting a troll. That'd be silly. But even if it is, you know, it's going to be far more interesting to look at than a hyper-realistic painting of a person sitting on a chair. You know, much more interesting indeed. Which is sort of the problem is, if you can paint hyper-realistic shit, put that talent and skill into something fucking interesting. Paint dragons and shit. Paint fucking porn, whatever. Actually, no, people do that and it's kind of boring to look at still. Paint shit that doesn't exist. Like, again, I've said many times, is one of the joys of drawing is creating something that hadn't previously existed. And I know I say that as I'm drawing a thing that already exists, but it's a bloody commission, it's for someone else. And I also say that as a person who draws butts and boobs and shit again and again and again, directly from photos. But then, you know, those are intimate photos that most people don't see, which are shared with me, which I in turn am allowed to, in a roundabout way, share with more people by creating artwork from said photograph. But hyper-realistic stuff's just sort of meh 99,000% of the time. Yeah, it's impressive. You get a decent image out of it, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. But then it's whatever, it's on to the next thing. So paint something interesting. Paint something really fucking well, of course, but paint something interesting. And then that brings us to another point of the argument, which is, are these people just boring fucking sod hats who have no real imagination, no character to them? This one particular artist who Ujis had mentioned in his Instagram story post, I think it was he just comes across as an absolute fucking bore ache of a man, very ego-driven. He knows he can paint well. He paints these marvellous photorealistic paintings, and everyone loves them. He gets loads of money and likes, shares, and whatever from his artwork, and that, you know, in turn makes him think. Well, not that it makes him think he's great, but it boosts his ego, which is clearly already, you know, swelteringly over the top and overblown. But then you just have to think, well, paint something good. Like, they do stunts. I think this one particular guy was bragging about how he was the first person to climb a mountain and then hang off the mountain while painting an oil painting portrait, which is just like, so, you know. Also, he might have actually done that, of course, but there's a photo of him hanging on the side of a cliff or whatever, with a brush against a half-painted portrait. There's every possible chance, I don't know, obviously it might not be the case, but there's every possible chance he had the painting beforehand and he posed with the brush, as many artists do, and it's fucking annoying. A lot of it may just be, you know, someone gets interviewed in their studio and they're like, oh, look like you're painting for the photograph, hold this brush up to the thing, and yeah, it looks stupid because you can see there's no paint on the brush or whatever. It's fucking gay is what it is. The most homophobic podcast yet. It's not. I love the gays, they're great. I'm almost one. Yeah, it's just, so what? Fucking shut up. Get indoors and just paint something interesting to look at. Because again, the portrait was nothing spectacular. It was just a man's face front on that he was painting on the side of a cliff. Wow. Like, okay, paint the fucking wall. Paint a portrait on, you know, the rock face, whatever. Like, something. Be interesting. You know, my gimmick, of course, is I use ballpoint pens, office supply materials. But he uses them to create these great works of art, portraits and comics and erotic drawings of body parts and such. And he rarely paints girls' faces because he's obviously a misogynist arsehole in Baghdad. I keep doing that. Which is a crutch that a lot of people use, and I'm trying not to, so we'll see if I can point it out as I do it in an effort to stop myself from doing it even more. But basically those artists are all fucking cheap, boring fuck faces. Basically, and you know, not to diminish if you like doing this, it's whatever, you know, do you, and give a shit what you do. But if you're going to be spreading it on social media and wherever else for recognition, fuck off with it. People essentially who pose in front of their artwork, and I know if you watch this, Inga, I know you have a lot of photos like that, but you always have like genuine character and care to them. So I'm not attacking anyone specifically. Well, I am actually. It's a very specific kind of person who take very specific kinds of photos. They feel forced, I think, is the point I'm trying to make. They don't feel genuine. It just feels like, just shit. Because the artwork's never interesting. It's like all the artwork you see that gets promoted on Instagram that people have paid to have me look at on my feed, regardless of whether or not I'm interested or want to. It's always that kind of art, like just boring meh artwork I could give a shit about. You know, like I say, draw something interesting. You fucking nerds. Ooh, I can paint photorealistically. Cool, what do you paint? I paint people's faces. Oh. Cool, I guess. But ultimately, meh. Can't you paint something nice like flowers or a landscape? No, you fart. I can't. Well, I can, but I choose specifically not to. You fucking mongrels. Quote my mother. Can't you paint something nice? Well, yeah, I can. I can paint anything. I'll do what I want. But specifically, I'm not going to. I'm going to paint dead people. I paint dead people. How often do you paint? All the time. Oh, you know, whenever I get time, really. Weekends usually. But, you know, if I get a day off during the week, I'll paint a dead person. That'd be a fun job. Like if someone has a family member die, they have them die on purpose via hitman or some such thing, but they want to appear that they care, instead of having like a blown up photo at the funeral or wake or whatever it is people do, pay to have someone paint a portrait of the deceased person, but like of the deceased person, not like how they looked when they were alive, but how they look now that they are fucking dead. That'd be a cool job. I'd like to commission you to paint my husband. I don't really do portraits, but you know, I guess. Well, thing is, you see, he passed away recently. I'm in! I'll do it! I'll do it for free. I'll do it because I want to do it. No charge. Actually, yeah, there will be a charge of £500 now and £500 when it's finished. I used to say I want to be a disaster artist, wherein I'd like to draw disasters. So if there's like, you know, a big fucking train crash and loads of people die, I want to produce an illustration of that to be published in a magazine or whatever, or newspaper, to show that, oh no, tragedy strikes as train crashes and kills everybody. 300 people dead, mostly children. Did you see there was a train two trains in India that collided with each other on the same track? How the fuck is a fucking transit system running that has two trains on the same track that end up colliding? Fuck's sake, man. Funny as all get out, but you know, just a bit silly, really, how that can happen. Isn't it? Ooh, that's silly. What silliness. Causing the deaths of hundreds. Ooh. Causing the deaths of hundreds. It's you and a clock. Oh, swaddle-dee-dee. Pissing my... Oh, right, that joke again. You would come on. It looks like one of those plague doctors, doesn't it? Weird. Ooh, maybe they were based on... Well, they were clearly based on birds rather than anteaters. Ooh, let's make a mask. What should we base it on? An anteater. What's one of those? I don't know, but they're probably a thing. Did you know? This is where I give you facts about anteaters. Did you know I have no facts about anteaters ready to share? because I didn't research them that much. I'm not a fucking nerd, come on now. I'm an artist, I don't have to do research. I do what I feel, man. Ooh, that brings me to another talking point for this episode. Just because you make art, here we go, controversial. Just because you make art doesn't mean you're an artist. Oh, I know. Steady on. Don't fill the comment section just yet. Fuck you, you and I are an artist just because you art doesn't have to just be for the people who have lots of money. It's made for the proletariat, for everyone, the working class to get on and do. Well, if we're talking art as in the art world, it's specifically for people with money and they can fuck off, and that's why I don't want to be an artist. That's why I hate art as a thing, as a big chunky thing that exists. I hate art. There is some art that I like. There are some artists I greatly admire. But as a whole, as a thing, as a construct, as a concept, to what it is currently anyway, I hate art for, like I say, for what it has become. You've let me down, art. How could you? I thought we were friends. But I just mean, in the same way that, like, I like to consider myself a comedian. I do things to be funny. I put them on the internet. I do comedic things. I do produce works of comedy to a greater or lesser extent, depending on your personal interpretation of what constitutes comedy. But I am by no means a comedian. Ultimately, it's, I guess, do you do it for a living? Do you make a living income from the thing you do? If so, then yeah, you're a fucking one of them. If not, then you're not really, I guess. And I use the term comedian. Ultimately, I can use the term artist. Obviously, everyone knows Ewan's an artist. That's what he does. I never have considered myself one because I'm not one. If someone says, what do you do? I can say, oh, I'm an artist. And they're like, wow, you live off your art. That's amazing. I even get messages saying, Ewan, please tell me how I can make a living off of artwork like you do. You are so amazing. You are my favourite artist. You are an inspiration to me and have been for many years. And all I can say to them is, I got nothing for you. I'm not the guy to ask. I don't make a living from my art. I don't consider myself an artist. I'm just the guy who's fucking sick at drawing, yeah? And it's like anything, isn't it? Anything you do. If you're a professional thing, then you're the thing. You might perform in plays several days a week. In amateur drama performances every now and again, and you put on shows and things. But then, ultimately you go to your day job and you do your thing. You act, but you're not really an actor. I mean, you are and you aren't. I guess it's whatever you make of it. Dumb shit you want to say, or whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it. You can, of course, use the word amateur. I'm an amateur actor. I'm an amateur artist, but that just makes it sound shitty. Oh, hi, I'm a shitty artist who's not good enough to make a living. So I would never advise using the word amateur. Unless you're looking for very specific types of pornography, in which case I use the term a lot. It just has a bit more heart and soul than the big company produced things, isn't it? Like any kind of film, which is what pornography is. It's film, It's the big studio stuff. Sure, it does the job, makes its money, it sets the bar for whatever. But ultimately, it's lifeless, isn't it? It feels like a product. Whereas the amateur stuff, like I say, has heart to it. You can see they're real people doing what they enjoy doing with each other, to each other. And it's just a bit more feeling to it. But sometimes I just want to watch a big studio cock go in and out of a big titted bird. So sometimes the studio product's enough. Sometimes you don't want a quiet night in with some cocoa. You want drugs that fucking kill the infection or whatever it is straight away. That's just how it is. So yeah, I'm not saying if you produce art but are not living from it, please do not call yourself an artist, because you are not one. Do ever, you know. It just personally, in my personal opinion, I don't consider myself an artist because I am not living off of my artwork. I don't think anyone who does anything is anything unless they're making a living doing the thing. Well, essentially, if that is what you do. You know. But of course, this said, ultimately, sure, everyone's a fucking artist. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. If you want to call yourself an artist, call yourself. Sometimes when I have packages delivered and it says, what's your name and whatever, and it asks for your title, Mr., Mrs., etc., I'll put Doctor. I'll put Dr. Wazoo Pissface, and my package will arrive at my workplace, and the postman will say, I have a package here for Dr. Wazoo Pissface, and everyone will laugh and go, oh, it's obviously for Ewan then, isn't it? And they'll go, yeah, it is. I did it again. Check that my mic is plugged in properly, because if it's not, no audio is going to have been recorded. Oh shit, I'm fucking everything up now. Ooh. Sorry. But, you know, if everyone, it can be an artist, then being an artist isn't fun. I don't want to live in a world where everyone's an artist. That'd be boring, because then I'm not special. From The Incredibles, innit? If everyone's super, then no one's super. If everyone's an artist, then the one thing I've spent my entire life doing is sort of meh, isn't it? When people on the regs will tell me, oh, Ewan, you're so good, I wish I had some sort of talent or whatever like that. I wish I could do what you do, Ewan. You are so great. I love you so much. Please make me pregnant so I can have a child that will grow up to be just as awful as you. But, you know, if you've not spent your entire life doing a thing, then how can you hope to be good at a thing? Innit? How did you get so good at drawing? I've literally drawn forever. Over 20 years. I better be fucking good at it. If I'm not good at it, then what the fuck am I doing? Still trying to do it, you know. So how can you learn to draw? Draw a lot. Draw all the fucking time. Don't do anything else. Just draw until you hate it and yourself. Drawing tutorials from you. Yeah, all right. Evidently I'm getting lazy with the latter half of this here anti-skeleton. I quite like it as a drawing, actually. A little bit stylised, vaguely anatomically correct. Very, very vaguely. Shall we take a break and do something else? I've had a little bit of feedback from where I asked to have a little bit of feedback. Oh, excuse me. So thank you guys for feeding back into my feedback. What have we got? That's my Morty drawing, which I will be redoing. Maybe I'll redo. Oh. That drawing of me was okay, Rick, but I think he's gonna just shut up, Morty. It's not about you. That drawing, I know it's you, but it's not about you, Morty. Not everything's, the universe is bigger than you, Morty. Geez, Rick, I was just saying he was doing a drawing of me, and now he's gonna do it again, Rick. Shut up, Morty. Wubba lubba dub dub! AIDS! Grass tastes bad. Well, you know, you've seen them. Well, here's a thing. You'll remember my latest, oh, it's under my latest Gun Viking page. Here's my latest Gun Viking page. I'll put a picture of it, edit here. Because it's under the thing my camera's on, so I can't be fucked. I'm lazy today. Here's the next page I'm working on. So in this previous page, he'd been stabbed in the ribs. So I'll have then a panel of him like going and falling to the floor with everyone stood over him. And this is a very rough outline. I just need to trace over it neater of the next page. So 4 panels, all from the same perspective, just 1, 2, 3, 4. This top one is going to be like a cartoon fight cloud going with, you know, pop, smack, crack, ow, push, pish, pow, squodge, with like arms and angry faces coming out, going like a scuffle going on here. And then here the cloud has died down, and you can see the gimp people beating on what is obviously Gun Viking's prone body with weapons in their feet and fists and such. And it's going to say, you know, pop, smash, crack, and then a few less sound effects. You know, kick, punch, hit, squaff, and then here slightly fewer, less sound effects. As you see, Gun Viking slightly stood up. That's his arm resting on his knee, his head here, as he's getting up off the ground, and they're all sort of backing off, fighting a bit less, going pop, paff, splick, and there he is, stood up, and they're all sort of backed away, looking very sort of like, ow, whoops, and this guy with a mace of some kind, just going bonk on his back. And then of course the next page will be him fucking them all up completely. So very rough outline of the page, but it does give you an idea of what's going on if you can see what's going on. This is Gun Viking's arm and fist here, his pectoral, his ribs, his tummy, his willy, leg here. That's him stood up. As I say, that's him there getting up. That's his body. So a nice comedic 4-panel thing. Then there'll just be like Gun Viking's face going, you guys, and then he'll, as I say, beat the shit out of them. I may have him literally just with one pistol go bang, 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 headshots to each of them as they all fall down dead. That could be quite funny. Depends what comes out in the drawing. Shall we have a look in Ewan's sketchbook today? I know you've all seen the sketchbook, but I you know, draw in it every now and again. So certain pages might not be quite as you remember them. My apologies if you have seen all of this and you're bored of it even. But you know, like you say, the feedback I was given was, yes, Ewan, in fact, we would like to see separate things within the podcast to switch it up a little here and there, you know, make it a bit more interesting than just drawing the one fucking picture for the whole hour or whatever. Throw something else in. Let's see what else you've been working on, Ewan. Wow, yeah. So I won't obviously go into detail on every page because I've probably done that a few times already, and you can basically see what is what, can't you? There obviously will be a few new bits I might point out here and there, but ultimately it's whatever. So here's sketchbook. Also, I can probably use this as a separate video, you know, speed it up, put it on Instagram as a little like, oh, flip through a sketchbook. This is a jester, because everyone's painting the Joker from the new Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix. So everyone's painting and drawing him, and it's getting really fucking boring seeing so many paintings and drawings of him. So I was going to draw a jester and upload it to Instagram and be like, here, I drew Joker. You know, because it's drawn directly from like the playing card, the classic Joker playing card. And everyone would be like, oh, Ewan, you certainly did. These are further pages of my current sketchbook. Gun Viking, we were just talking about you, Mr. Man. Oh, what a guy. I do hope to make a Gun Viking action figure one day, but we'll see how that goes, I suppose. Some of these would be best shown flipped the other way around, rather than, you know, as I'm showing you now, like this one, for instance. But fuck that. I can't be asked. And as I say, it'll be a much better quick flip through video if it stays as it is. This image was used to promote me for a certain thing which is coming up, which I'll talk about later on. And frankly, I mean, it's funny, like it's dreaming about being dead. But in terms of like pictures you can use from my Instagram to promote me, it's sort of like, oh, really? That one? Okay. I mean, do you know, it's up to you. You're the page runner of promoting me. This is a baby doll with its guts coming out. That's an idea for something else. Oh, this I drew the other day, put on my Instagram story. Grabby. See, I'm wearing a teddy bear costume. I mean, not me per se, but the guy I draw as being me represented by some guy. It's a teddy bear suit you wear, but it's got holes to put your hands in. So when kids come up to you to get candy or balloons, you grab them and then you choke them out and drag them back to your 1-bedroom top floor flat that you rent, and then you do with them what thou wilt. Also, possibly a Flesh Bob No Pants toy in the works. We'll see about that. There's some surprises and some secrets for you. This guy looking at a grave saying goals. See, goals. He wishes he was dead. And don't we all? I was trying to draw like a human Kermit the Frog here. I don't know why. Just thought it might be a funny idea. Kermit the Frog, but a man. Man Kermit. Some Millhouses. I don't know if the Millhouses were in here last time. It's drawn by someone known as Woolly Goat with 2 L's on Instagram. Look him up. He draws Millhouse every now and again. And I go over his drawings. That's kind of neat. This is where I was, these are rough sketches for the GIMP people in my Gun Viking comic. So it has a relationship to what we were just looking at before. Because he comes across a group of bandits, and all the bandits are going to have sort of like leather GIMP wear on. So these were rough drawings of what they might look like. I will turn this one up because I don't know if you've seen it, but it's quite cool. MFD. We all like a bit of Doom, don't we? The super villain. He's pretty great. That's a drawing of him. Oh, now I've ruined my flip through video, haven't I? Never mind. Another one by Woolly Goat that I traced over and shaded in with my Bic pen style. All right. Yeah. 2 filthy fucking Muppets. That's an idea for something else that may come up later. See, when I draw in my sketchbook, like on my break at work or whatever, I just flip to whatever page has a little space for me to draw in, rather than start a new page all the time, because, you know, lots of pages have like gaps and shit, and I'd like eventually to fill the entire thing, so when you look through it, it looks like it's fantastic, when really it's not really fantastic, it's only slightly fantastic. This was just a little bit of brush pen practice, little toothy tooth there with a sad face. She's pretty, isn't she? Anaya. That's what she calls herself, with a rat in her hair. Now, she doesn't have dreadlocks, which is one of the pains of girls constantly changing their hair and appearance. Is every time I draw a picture of them, I feel I have to draw them again to update my drawing of them, because now my drawing of them isn't accurate to how they look. You know, I don't care, ultimately. I'm not saying, oh, they shouldn't dye their hair and change the style and get piercings and do what you want. I don't give a shit, but it frustrates me when my drawings aren't fucking accurate anymore. Crusty. Oh, this was good because this was a comic about child molestation. Very bad. Oh, just going to pop to the little boys' room. Little boys' room, especially in England, not sure about anywhere else, is a term used to describe the bathroom, the toilet. So rather than say, I'm going to go do a shit, you say, gonna pop to the little boys' room, so everyone knows what it is you're doing without you having to explicitly say so. So the guy goes there, and then he walks in looking very sinister, and it turns out it's a room full of little boys saying, no, Uncle Ewan, no, because they're all going to get molested. People liked that on Instagram. They said, haha, this is funny. Very dark, Ewan, but very funny. People laughed at a child molestation joke. So don't you ever tell me rape jokes can never be funny, because, you know, they can be. Jokes about rape can be funny. Jokes about rapists can be funny. Maybe don't go making jokes at the expense of people who have been raped, specifically. But as a subject matter, you can make jokes about it. Because this is about someone clearly fucking kids and people found it funny. So go fuck yourself if you're going to tell me that shit like that shouldn't be joked about, you cunts. This is me trying to draw graffiti again after however many years of not drawing graffiti. Yeah, I know. Oh, this was a cool one. Based on the designs by Rat Bro Team on Instagram. They make toys of like humanoid rat people. I would show you that way, but you can't really see it properly. I'd like to do a few more drawings like this, going over 2 pages of my sketchbook. I may or may not. We'll see. Oh shit, yeah. I might do this for another podcast. This is going to be a sort of 9 or 10 panel comic detailing a story of when I got mugged, when I got held up at knife point near my home, and how I avoided actually being mugged. Funny story. Maybe I'll tell it sometime. There's not really too much more I can do with this drawing of an anteater skeleton. I will, of course, finish it and then send it away to Kate Kennedy. I really hope I have gotten her name right. My memory's not bad, so I assume I've gotten it right. If not, my apologies. Then apparently this whole podcast is dedicated to someone else entirely, if I have gotten your name wrong. Did you know I can't draw straight lines? But I also sent her, some stickers and such, and I don't know, probably a book or something, some extra things to say sorry for taking so fucking long with your piece. If you are going to commission artwork, it's very nice and friendly to say, take your time, give it to me whenever you can. There's no hurry. But as I'm sure many artists can relate to, that's not always helpful, because then it gets put on the back burner again and again and again. Sometimes you've just got to say, oh, I'd love to have it by this date, a couple of weeks, whatever. Even make something up. Say, oh, it's my fucking mum's moving in day, so I'm going to give her this picture to frame to put on a wall of her little boy's room. So it would be really cool to have it done by then. Then the person will go, cool, I'll have it done by then. But if you say, take your time, have it to me whenever, then they will take their time and have it to you. And I say they, I mean me specifically. I'll take forever, and you'll be lucky if it ever gets done at all. That said, if you do want to commission me to do something, please do. No, I'll let you know when I have commission slots available, and I do actually draw the pictures. This one in particular just sort of got away from me. I apologise, I'm sorry. As an extra little bonus, as I say, this whole episode is dedicated to you, Kate. So my apologies for all the good that does. Not that it really means or does anything. You can't really use that other than, oh my God, you dedicated a podcast episode to me. And I will probably put that in like the description or something. I'll say this episode dedicated to this person. I'll link to your Instagram or whatever. I swear I'll remember to do that. I promise. Again, just by way of a small apology, because it shouldn't have taken as long as it did. And I'm sorry. But, I'm not actually an artist, am I? I'm just someone who does art. See? Callback. Circled round. Perfect. Get fucked.